So the first thing we're going to get into is basic formulas, just calculations and how to create them inside of Excel. Now, as we talked about earlier in our introduction chapter of this training session, each of these cells or each of these blocks, these little rectangles, are set up with coordinates, basically a location within this Excel worksheet. For example, here in January for apples, I'm sitting on cell B4, or I can reference it as cell B4. And right here's the name box, and it tells me that that cell, current cell, active cell is cell B4. February apples is C4. Let's see, February pears is C7, and so on. And that's going to become very important as we begin to work with formulas inside of Excel. If I want to get in and add up the total for January sales, then I want to be able to reference those cells, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8. Add that up for me. So here we go. Basic formulas. So I want to be able to add up the total for the January sales. All right. Now, regardless of what type of calculation you're creating, whether it's just a really basic formula or you're getting into very complex functions, you're always going to start the formula with an equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and type that into my keyboard, making sure that cell B9 is my active cell. I'm going to say equals. This basically just lets Excel know that, hey, I'm creating a calculation here. I'm going to be summing something up, or I'm going to be finding the average, or doing a number of other types of mathematical calculations. Just letting Excel know that that's what I'm doing. So I start with my equals. My next step is I want to say, let's see, get the contents of cell B4, and then add that to the contents of B5, add that to B6, add that to B7, and my last one, B8. All right, nice thing about Excel 2003 is we get this nice little color coding. You can see that there. B4 is kind of blue color, and if I look up into here, they've outlined it in blue. Green, kind of purple, brown, and then the lighter green color for cell B8. All right, and that's all that is to it. Dredging up old memories of your math classes. If I hit my enter key, all right, so I get a total of 640 for the month of January. Now I can get in there and I can use other simple mathematical operators. I got the addition with the plus sign. I got the subtraction with the minus sign. If you just take a look at your number pad on your keyboard, and you've got the little asterisk for multiplication, and you've got your slash for division. So you can use these mathematical operators that you're familiar with from going through your math classes or balancing your checkbook. We can use them here inside of Excel. Now, before I move on and show us another way how to do this, if I want to get back in and edit that formula, maybe I've made a mistake, or I've added another row into this mix, or I've subtracted a row out. If I select that cell, up at the top of my screen, I've got what's called my formula bar, and here I can edit it. So if I want to take out the contents for B8, I'm just going to highlight that, backspace that out, delete it out, hit my enter key. So now I've got, minus the bananas, I've got 490 as a total for January. So as simple as that. I'm just moving back to the cell that contains the formula, and that formula will reside up inside my formula bar. Let's go ahead and add that back in. Let's see, that was B8. All right, so that's one way of doing it. As with anything inside of Excel, there's always multiple ways to do just about everything. I'm going to show you a couple other methods. But I would suggest that you find one that is comfortable for you, one that you can repeat and will easily stick with you. All right, so here I am inside of cell C9, which is going to be my total for February sales. All right, so if you recall, I'm going to be creating a formula, and regardless of how I create that formula, I'm always going to start it with a specific character. All right, so here I am. I'm going to go equals. Remember that character. This time, rather than typing them in, I'm just going to come up and click inside the cells that I want. I'm going to click inside of cell C4, and if you look down inside my formula, you should see the reference for cell C4. And I'm going to go plus C5 plus C6. Important that you hit that plus sign, or whatever operator you're using, plus C7 plus C8, and my enter key. There we go. For February sales, we've got 825. All right, pretty neat. This is very convenient and fast, and especially nice if you've got cells located throughout your spreadsheet, not just inside of a nice straight line here, but throughout your spreadsheet that you can just click on to be able to reference. All right, so two methods creating just very simple formulas. We're going to take a look at a function for our next method in calculating March's sales. The benefit to a function is one, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of different functions that are built into this application that will allow you to do various types of mathematical equations, look up information, database functions. There's just a lot built into this application. On top of that, you're also able to build your own functions. And that's actually a topic that we'll get into a little bit later as we talk about macros and we get into a little bit of Visual Basic. Okay, but for now, we're going to use a pretty common function inside of Excel to be able to add up the contents for March. Now, if you've been through this before, if you've used this function, there's a very, very easy way to accomplish what we're about to do. I'm going to show you kind of the longer method. That way we get a kind of grasp the bigger picture here and understand the different parts that make up this function to add up the contents that we designate. This way, when you get into the easy method, if something goes wrong or if you need to go back in and edit it, we're going to know how to do it. All right, so here we go. So again, I'm doing a calculation, so I'm going to start with that special character. I'm going to say equals. And we want to add up the contents of the March sales. Now, a term that you may recall from your math days would be sum. So the function that I want to use is called sum. So first thing, just three little parts here that you're going to be utilizing. The first part is always the same. It's always the equal sign. The second thing that we want is the function name. I'm going to show you here in just a moment where you can find all the different functions that are built into Excel. Here it's a simple one. It's just sum. The third part, three parts, the third part is going to be our arguments, or basically the cells that we want to sum up. And you're going to enclose these inside of parentheses. So I've got an open close parentheses there. And I just want to sum up B4 through, let's see, what is it, B8. Now for the through symbol, typically I'd use just a hyphen. But in this case, with calculations, it would look at the hyphen as a minus sign. So here inside of Excel, I'm going to use a colon. And I'm going to say B8. And there we go. Oh, you know what? I've made a mistake there. I don't want B, I want D. D4 through D8. And I'm going to hit my enter key. And there we go. For March, I've got a total of 900. I'm just going to click back onto that cell so we can take a look at that formula. So remember, three parts. We've got the equals, that's always there. We've got the function name. In this case, we're utilizing sum. And then the third part, wrapped in these parentheses, is the range of cells or the arguments that you're going to be adding up, in this case summing up. All right, so three different methods to be able to do a calculation here. We've got some just more fundamental basic calculations here, adding up, literally just telling it each and every cell. We've got same thing there, just another way to do it. Here I clicked on the cells that I wanted. Now here I'm utilizing a function. Much shorter method, much easier to accomplish. Now I'm going to show you another way to do this. Using a function, rather than typing it in, because summing is such a fundamental calculation, a fundamental function inside of Excel, they've made it just a click of a button. So here, I'm going to come up, make sure E4 is my selected area, and I'm going to hit this little E button, this auto sum button, and watch what it does. Watch this area here. Alright, so it knew right away I want to sum, and right away, it's pretty smart, it grabbed the appropriate cells. And there we go, 625. So very easy to accomplish. Microsoft knows that that's something that we're going to be doing quite a bit of, so they've created just a button for us to accomplish this.